I've never. So are you going to ask him to do the block? Or you'll do it. You'll do the right thing. Yeah. 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 I've never been here when the chairs were not full, so I didn't work it. Emailing everyone to come. I put it on Instagram, and then I emailed some students, so I don't know.
Mary, would you like to join us?
Yes, I will.
Oh, right, the music. It's on my phone. Sorry. Forgot.
That's true.
I mean, yeah, this is what I've been wearing. I mean, it's linen, so, you know. Yeah. So thank you to all of you who were able to join us on this balmy, tropical New York evening. So Mary, hey. If you haven't been here before, we do kind of it's informal. If you have something to interject or whatever, feel free to raise your hand or whatever. We can have a discussion, and then we'll have like a proper Q&A afterwards. So. This is our 4th exhibition together. Oh, are you recording, Nathan? Oh, we are. Okay. We'll edit that out. This is our 4th exhibition here, but I actually met Mary and Bobby. Mary was kind of, in a way, hello. Mary was, in a way, a big catalyst for me into a lot of the relationships that exist in the gallery now. I was working with this woman at our gallery in Laguna Beach, and Mary's sister lives in Newport, and knew my friend Lisa Aslanian, and was it kind of like, well, what artists do you admire that you would like to show here in California with? Like, that was kind of the catalyst, right? Yeah. So that was the end of
She said, well, why don't you recommend some artists that you want to show with? And so I did, and she said, I want all of them.
Right. And this was in 2012. Yeah. So it's just wild how much and how little has also changed, right? So since I've known you, and I think that first show was all painting, but there was also this series you had just finished of ships.
Yeah.
What jog my memory about that a little bit.
I was doing gel transfer.
They were gel transfers, right.
So anyway, thank you for coming, and I see some people smiling at the word gel transfer, Ellery issue. I've taught that, but yeah. So I was doing it in my work, and it was really, I think, about colonialism in a way, and naval disasters, and travel, and navigation, and I guess those things have continued in certain ways.
Yeah, and there's been a range of source material since then, from X-rays to auction catalogs. Those works on paper of the Christie's catalogs that were great. What initially drew you to appropriating luxury interiors for this and your previous body of work, and what do these images offer that photographs that you've taken yourself wouldn't offer?
There was a little bit of chance and a little bit of purpose. I'm really influenced in my work by the drawings of Louise Fishman, and she was in my building for decades.
Okay.
And so I was looking at some of her drawings, and just a couple of them were done on museum catalog pages, like 19th century architectural drawings. And I thought, well, I'm going to try that. So I went to the thrift store, and the book that I found was unknown to me at the time, a magnificent catalog of French interior design over the decades. So, and that is where I began thinking I would just make drawings, and maybe 288 pages later, they evolved into ideas for paintings. Yeah.
You started that around 2022, right?
Yeah.
Because so a big theme that comes along with that, obviously, and in this exhibition is authorship. I think particularly with this exhibition, you got authorship of ideas, spaces, images, cultures. For those of you that don't know, this is a book called Metropolitan Luxury by a designer named Eric Custer. These all came from his coffee table book, and he is known for doing luxury resorts around the world.
Right.
So. They passed through a number of transformations to get to this point, painting directly on the book page, rephotographing them, enlarging them digitally, and then painting into them some more. So at what point do you feel that the work actually becomes your image?
That was such a great question, and one I really thought a lot about.
Well, it's a spontaneous question, so you're answering off the cuff right now.
Yeah. Talked in the essay about the floor in my studio.
Yeah.
And I'm smearing them with paint and cleaning my brushes on them and hoping something turns out. I think it's a form of like killing them to resurrect them as mine. I think that is the place that they become mine. And I think that's part of what I'm doing to make them mine. And then, so that authorship then I feel is redirected in that destructive constructive process.
So the floor the floor plays the role?
Well, the floor, because they're on the floor.
Oh, you do them all on the floor?
Yeah. They
so
start on the floor.
They're not stretched prior?
Well, let me just, so when I have the book.
I'm sorry if I'm confusing.
I think I can, yeah, I have my book and I take all the pages out and I throw them all over the floor. And I clean my brushes on them, and I make all kinds of marks.
All right, so it's prior to the printing. I'm sorry. Yeah. No, you were being clear.
Yeah. And I think I have a low success rate, maybe 10%. I've even had to buy the book a second time. So then, if some kind of color or mark or something I can see in that is worthwhile. Then that becomes a painting on canvas. Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
Or print. It goes into the printed stage and is finished on the wall.
See, I've only seen them when they got to the printed stage, and I didn't get to see the whole dance of the book pages on the floor.
Yeah.
That's and I know that your floor also is quite its own tapestry of
Yes.
colors and compositions.
Yeah.
So in the press release, I wrote that the luxury interiors are described as spaces designed to sell an experience rather than document a particular place. So how much are you thinking about architecture and interior design as psychological spaces rather than physical ones?
A lot. I think the spaces, they're very important to me as I think of spaces as psychological symbols, right? Like I think in one of the press releases, maybe for the last show, I quoted James Hillman, dreams always happen in a place. So the idea of a place having, that we float through it, that we see through it, that we imagine ourselves in it. So so the spaces for me are very psychologically charged, but the ones that succeed most often, which are the ones that made it into the show, also have depth. I'm looking for a little bit of, like, I probably couldn't succeed with a brick wall or another. So I'm also looking for perspectival depth. And and I was thinking about the question, and I also realized that the interior design and architecture provides me with a grid, with a kind of geometry, with that. So just by the fact of the interior itself, there's a grid in which I'm reacting. So it's, kind of organic and against the constructed.
Well, because a lot of the, come sit up here, Tom, if you want. Tom, you want a seat? Sure. Yeah. No, you're not interrupting. I mean, you're interrupting everyone by going that way, I guess, but. Right, because a lot of these grids ended up being flipped and turned and completely recontextualized. So they were only like loosely influencing the images. And certainly, like, I guess gravitational logic was not really a huge consideration in the initial image, but became later on.
Yeah, I think as much as when I began this work, even with, the idea that I would ignore the image was always my goal, but one which I never fully succeeded in doing. So it happens to various degree, but I do end up seeing the image on some level, and I think in terms of gravity, and sort of hitting a ground plane and situating the mark in the space, that's part of what I do.
And when you say ignoring the image, you mean like ignoring the actual content of the space as opposed to like breaking it down into just a series of forms in your head? Do you know what I mean by the difference of that? Like this is a space, and then this is just a formal composition.
Right. I'm trying to ignore the objects, as, the identity of the objects, that of what they may be, and
the identity. Yeah, that's it. Right.
Yeah, like it's hard to cover up something like amazing in the print when you see it, but yes, it's got to go. You have to go.
That's kind of like its own sort of conceptual, because I mean, these are spaces they're meant to be like, they're designed purely for, I mean, they're functional to an extent, but I mean, they're the aesthetic principle behind them of the design. There were so many strange things like floating walls and stuff that, didn't really have a utilitarian purpose, So in a way, I feel like these can be read as a critique of wealth or aspirational living. But they also the paintings seem genuinely seduced also by like the beauty of these spaces and emulate it. Like there's a certain, even though you're not kind of like keeping a light logic consistent in terms of like a light source, you're emulating a luminosity that exists in them, or you like heightening the surrealness of them through the mark. I guess it's not, your past body of work seemed a lot more defiant. So I guess, how do you navigate the tension between attraction and critique in these?
I think that I don't have, I think, well, when I'll just say I was reading about the Dutch still life tradition today, but in the book by Norman Bryson, and he talked about luxury in those opulent golden age still lifes, and how they were, they reflected in that society the tension between luxury, and he talks about that word itself being tied to the medieval 7 deadly sins, and the term affluence. Is
this his opinion, or is it like a historical like etymology?
Yeah, etymology.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
okay.
Like luxury is tied to the 7 deadly sins. So in those still lifes, there's a navigation also between wealth and moral responsibility and ethics, and I'm playing with all of it too, but I don't have anything to, I'm not passing. I think it's the way we live and the culture that we live through, and that's what I'm trying to show more than
not making a value judgment on it.
Yeah. I mean, as an abstract painter, I don't know how I could do that, right?
Right, yeah. Well, gesture does play, has such a presence in the works. It's funny, like throughout all the series that I've seen of yours, your way of your gestural language is so recognizable, even though like the sort of sorcerly imagery kind of changes. Like there's a certain Mary je ne sais quoi of the way that you kind of will just nail something really bold. And I love how it stands really in contrast with a lot of the like sort of elegance of the linens in that one that could become very painterly, or like it kind of changes the context of the way that we view the objects in there as well. So the gestures, I think, often feel much more physical than the spaces and objects themselves. And when you're making these marks, are they intuitive responses in the moment, or are they carefully calibrated to appear spontaneous?
It changes from.
Well, I know how it begins. Apparently, is
yeah, but it does change from painting to painting. I mean, like there are times when I know that I'm going to use a certain color, and I'm going to make one mark. You know, I may make it over and over and over on the surface, but I'm making one mark so that that has to appear.
What do you mean you may make it over and over and over on the?
Well, if it doesn't work, I have to scrape it off and clean it. And
so when it doesn't work, you actually take it off?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Many times.
Really? Yeah.
Luckily, Club Jimmy Woo can't talk.
That's Club Jimmy Woo.
Yeah. So there is a feeling of having it be one mark once, or and a kind of freshness and directness that maybe relates a little bit to graffiti or to construction, destruction, to a kind of tension between those things, keeping it from maybe becoming absolutely an image, but remaining a signification of the gesture.
Yeah, I like that distinction. A favorite line of mine from Adam Simon's essay is, the content exists in the interaction between them, the way that the gesture transforms the photo, and the photo contextualizes the gesture. In other words, that the photograph isn't subordinate to the painting, and the painting isn't simply interrupting the photograph. They're constantly redefining one another. Does it feel like a conversation between two visual languages, or does one always have the final word?
There's definitely a conversation, but for me, it's painting.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought a lot about that. I mean, there are times when, as you know, like I've painted them on the floor and then I have them printed. And sometimes they look so good just coming off the print. I'm like, what more can I do? But it's my rule or whatever that I'm doing more. I'm going to do more.
Yeah.
So I know from that it's a painting. Yeah.
Because something that was kind of formally touched upon also in the press release that you and I discussed was, you want to sit up here, Jorge? Okay. Something that we had touched upon was the idea of how hierarchy of media also plays a role in these images. Photography versus painting, and painting as sort of like what was the term? It was the it was like the aesthetic sort of. Do you remember what it was?
No.
Okay.
But
the point being that painting sort of was held in the highest regard in terms of image making and how it's been canonized. I had a point, but the hierarchy between the media relating to the hierarchy of sort of social status that these kind of imply was very much intact in the thought behind these.
Yeah, I think I understand what you mean.
Well, if you didn't,
that as paintings they participate in the commodification.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. See, I mean, you take it and you make it so much more concise and legible, and so I particularly love the multifaceted nature of your exhibition titles. Reservations carries several possible meanings: hotel bookings, hesitation, social exclusion, even emotional restraint. What attracted you to that title, and was there one meaning that came before the others? You also always say you always are so resolute about your titles. I will say that every time you're like, this is the one, and then I'm like, I love it. Right?
That is a great thing between us.
Yeah.
You do like them, which is great. It came to me while I was painting Stacked, which is the large blue painting closest to the door. And I was thinking about where would I find how would I ever be there? Where would I I enter that space? Where would I be? And then looking at a number of them, they have a emptiness, and as we know that emptiness is a very high form of luxury. You know that you are free from the clutter of the everyday world. And so I was thinking that maybe they were vacation rentals, and that they're displaying for that. So that was the idea of having a reservation to be there. And I liked the ambivalence of the word, and because you would definitely have reservations about being there.
Yeah, there's some moral ambiguity in these. I mean, not all of them. Some more than others, obviously. I mean, depends on the location and how it was.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I recently learned also, as an aside, when you talked about emptiness being a form of luxury, Kim Kardashian actually, she had her 3 cars, or 3 of her cars, painted the exact gray as her home, so that when you're looking at her driveway, you got the Rolls-Royce Phantom, you got like the Lamborghini SUV, and you got the Maybach, and they were all custom painted the exact same gray as the house. So it just is like this monochromatic facade, and it almost looks like nothing even moves from there because it just is like frozen.
Yeah. Space and luxury.
Just a little aside.
Yeah.
Because I came across it yesterday.
Yeah, and order.
And order, yeah.
Order.
Right, because I see that and I'm like, there's something so delicious about that. I mean, as someone who like hates clutter in my own life, and then like to look at that and be like, oh, it's so sick, but but like something so appealing about it. Like you just know there's no like no water spots on those shower
right
on that shower glass, and that's just
it's going to be super clean.
I know. So so when you talk about the emptiness in some versus others, there's also an aspect where some of them, like from Calcio, which only like kind of was very painted over, and you see a fireplace, the book, some chrome coming through, and otherwise you're left to read a lot about this abstract sort of portal abyss, opulent abyss, where then Stacked has a lot more of like an environment intact. So how do you decide how much of the original images, or how much of the original image survives?
I wish I could decide, and it goes. I can't decide. It happens. Yeah, and I can't really go back too much because of I'll lose the image. So it's so I can't decide. Yeah, if it works out, if everything it happens with more or less resolution early on, that's incredible. If it doesn't, the painting becomes much more heavily painted.
So one painting that's in the series, in the catalog, but is not in the show, 4 O'Clock Lovers, that had 3 different iterations of finish to it.
More than a year of work. I mean, you saw how many. Yeah.
And then didn't make it into the show.
Right.
Is it still a challenging painting for you? Is that why, or I don't remember why? Because that's you.
Well, I'm glad it's in the basement. After what it put me through.
So it's still not done?
No, it's done.
Okay,
it's done.
Because I remember that painting. And I'm sorry we're talking about it. Maybe you don't want to talk about it.
No.
Okay. At first, it had a lot of remnants of things I saw in your work from like the late '80s, certain graphic decisions and everything, and then slowly evolved to kind of be more and more, gestural like this. But the image was almost gone by that time. Yeah,
and half of what is the image is painted in
back
restored.
in. Yeah.
So I mean, I had to really let it go, and it's hard. It's hard sometimes to let let it go, but that's the way it is. Yeah.
when you say restore, so that's something else I want to touch on with, because there's an element of faux painting that also exists in these in this gestural mark making. The idea that like you can look at Calcio, and at a point with the gestures that were printed on the or that were painted on the initial printed image, when you blow it up, because she's not working with the original digital file, she's working on something that's already a printed image, and then blowing it up from there. So you're electing to lose resolution in that, and so you have a number of gestures that become unified in that pixelation, and then there's also a number of gestures that are kind of more obviously painted, but there's a lot of in between that you seem to kind of like want us to not be sure about.
Yeah. I think
And there's like an element of faux painting to that in a way, right? There's a trompe l'oeil of abstraction happening.
Right, definitely. Of what is the gesture? When is it the magnification changes things, creates new patterns? Mm-hmm. Then often I have to extend them, change them. Yeah, so there's a lot. I'm very, restoring spray paint.
Restoring spray, yeah.
So there's a lot of restoration to the initial image and to things that happen along the way. And then this one, of course, with the one image, one paper just laid over another, and then the diptych separation. So two kinds of overlays there, so that even as the images overlay can be an opportunity for trompe l'oeil as well, or simulated collage in a way.
Because you'll look at certain areas, and even though it's completely like, you'll be like, oh, that's actually rendered.
Yeah. So there's a lot of restoration that goes to, the print may not sit so comfortably into the canvas. I think I'm going to repaint everything. So there was lots of yellow tape on the top, let's say in Vanishing Points, where that yellow column is, that there was yellow tape all over there. So I had to paint that out and restore it. So there's a lot of stuff you don't see, hopefully, and yeah.
Yeah, well, in a way, like, I mean, it speaks to like the idea of design also being like camouflage, right? Like when something is designed well, it's seamless.
Yeah.
So when I was writing about this show, I was thinking about American legal scholar Lawrence Lessig's idea about remix culture. He had a book called Remix. It was called Remix, and it was he was interviewed on the Colbert Report, like in 2012 or something. I don't know, but it was this fascinating conversation about how meaning increasingly comes through transformation rather than originality in our current contemporary visual culture. Has working this way changed how you think about originality in painting?
Maybe in terms of my own. I mean, I think the idea of collage culture, of everything is already here. There's nothing new, that we reinvent things for new meaning, new context, that we're pulling back layers. And I think all that is interesting in terms of gestural painting, that it too goes through cultural manifestations. And in fact, in the fashion section today, there was the Christian Dior line is based on Linda Benglis and the quote "frozen gesture."
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
So so it's all framing, reframing, and I think the gesture, at least in America, has such a strong history with abstract expressionism and cultural dominance that to play it through other languages is, for me, exciting. Yeah.
Oh, that's a great place to leave it. I want to open up to the audience, though. I'm sure you all got questions. And that's 6. Well, 6:15. Oh, it's okay. Sorry. And I just quoted you too.
Yeah.
It's recorded. It's all right.
Yes.
So, one of the things that strikes me with this show that I think is really compelling is the sense of light in paintings. And that seems different than the earlier work. Is that responding to the collage aspect, or what's going on?
I think it is conscious because the light is often in the original print, and
The light is beautiful.
thank you. So, I mean, so I'm looking for light and color, and I'm looking for it, yeah, and to push it all around and add to it, yeah.
Yeah, Richard.
Jared kind of mentioned it, but I'm curious to hear you talk a little bit more about the trickery. I don't know if that works, but like there's like a brush stroke. It's not a brush stroke. It's a photo of a brush stroke. It's some bars. It's that kind of thing. I'm curious to hear you talk a little more about like where that came from, and what that is for you. Where it's like trompe l'oeil, but it's also kind of not trompe l'oeil. This is just a photo, but then you're kind of complicating it by like adding real brush strokes. Just the origins of that and what you think about when you're kind of involved in that deception, if that's the right word. I don't know.
Deception.
Well, that's a word for trompe l'oeil.
Yeah.
I think it has a lot to do with just the encounter and the sort of reverberation of the uncertainty of maybe of which we're surrounded, of how we encounter the art object in so many printed forms, and maybe just separate myself a little bit from maybe a kind of heaviness that might, I could this if they were extremely textured. I mean, one of them is, but so to have maybe to keep it about light, I think more than in equal with substance. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm afraid to ask a question that you probably covered it before I got here, but I was interested in writing about this work partly because I don't even know if I mentioned this. I see you as kind of occupying a similarly schizophrenic realm to what I do in my own work, and so I wanted to ask you about that. I think that for you and I both, the possibility that art can be responsive to the world we live in, not through direct commentary, but through some other means, is something that I think we both care about. And I think we're both deeply invested in the discourse around abstract painting. And I just I'm wondering if you feel like trying to merge these two impulses leaves you in a kind of limbo, or in a kind of no man's land.
I think I love what you said, and I think you also said that there's something a little bit like a crime scene. So maybe that limbo.
It opened with the crime scene.
Is
Yeah.
the hovering or the lack of being able to really find a clear space. I mean, I think I was taught really that abstract painting made no political content, and then we've been sort of had the idea that it couldn't affect political change, but we feel it does all the time. We see it happen all the time, and so it's this.
Wait. You see abstract painting affecting political change?
I think it does.
The CIA tried to make that point.
They try to use it.
Exactly.
Yeah, I know I'm going out on a limb with that, but I think it does. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, Beautiful show.
Thank you, Tom.
I was thinking about, and I'm not sure if I ever mentioned this in like studio visits, but when I'm looking at your work and when I thought about your work, I thought about this interview with Cecily Brown, which she talks about. Well, they talk about her adopting the imagery, the appropriate imagery, and she said something to the effect that like she just does like magazines all over the floor, and what it allowed her to do in order to make a painting was to get started. So for her, I think it was a way of overcoming the cliche of a blank canvas. But then, you look at her imagery too, and it is associated with a certain kind of trajectory. I mean, you could say it's gotten kind of maybe more historically, located in like Victorian culture. But the thing I think that's different about your work is that it doesn't seem to look for a resolution. Whereas I still feel like she's commenting on like abstract expressionism. Ultimately, like she's using those images. She's using those images to work through an abstract expressionist painting. And with your work, I feel like it's suspended, and it's much more. It's socially critical, but not like a denotative way. It's like more connotative, and I find that really interesting because it kind of leaves the question open, both the question of whether you can make an abstract expressionist painting, and the question about photography versus painting. So I guess it's not a question, but I think the suspension and the tension that you create in your work between, I mean, there's ostensibly in this show in particular, like this excess, this feeling of like culture. There is more, I feel like, a cultural critique in this show because of like, I'm like looking at this thing, I think like White Lotus,
Right, that's come up a lot.
Yeah. And also like club culture and stuff, but I know from talking to you previously that's not necessarily your point, As a painter, I feel like it's just really interesting that you're suspending these kind of two codes and then expressing them like analogically. As a painter.
Yeah.
Whereas, like I feel like Cecily Brown is still kind of stuck on the code. Even though it's camouflage. Hers is a good example for me of like cultural camouflage.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I see what you mean.
I suppose by the reduction of texture in the strokes, you're creeping more than Cecily Brown might be. I'm just musing on this. That I keep the word creeping comes up. It's the integration of the photographic image and the paint, and the paint almost becomes photographic, and I guess is in layers. But that I also think of gesture signature, that essay where the gesture just becomes a stroke. And that the only way forward from Cecily Brown would be to creep around the painting, flatten it out. So you're holding back on the marks. I mean, you're not, but you are. You know what I mean? Like if you want to make texture, you're probably not. You're going to think about it twice.
That could be that I have a synthesis more than Cecily Brown, who I think often buries her imagery in painterly effect, so I'm not doing that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But like Cecily Brown, I think she uses a lot of pornography, which is specific source.
It's kind of segued out of that.
Yeah, and mine is kind of specific too, like these. It's not just any image that I can use. Mine need a kind of space, like a perspective space, at least in this series.
I think it is that state of limbo that is what makes them really interesting and powerful. The limbo between the photographic image and the paint quality, and then just the limbo of what is the subject. You know, it's that quality of not being entirely clear, but being powerful in a physical way that is, I think, what's compelling about them, like the size of the brush strokes and the just there's a certain kind of commitment, but there's still a limbo, and I like that limbo. I accept that, and I don't need to feel like I completely understand every single move, but I find that very appealing. It's very mysterious.
Can I add to that? It's just thinking about what you were just saying. It wouldn't take a lot to turn these paintings into something where it would look like you were really using the paint to attack the image, like the desecration of the image. I mean, it would just be like a little bit thicker, a little grungier, a little nastier colors. But you're working a very delicate balance where the beauty factor remains very strong, and that keeps it from going over into a kind of flat-footed cultural critique that would be much less interesting.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
And I think that's provocative of narrative, maybe without going all in. I'm just with maybe the White Lotus comment or something. Yeah, like you're not sure why you're there.
Yeah, even White Lotus is pretty subtle in many ways.
It is,
Yeah.
Well, that's the remix culture. Like the White Lotus, affected our read of
Yeah,
this
right.
exhibition.
Photography.
The other thing I like about them is they're clearly made by hand. Whether I understand how it's made, because as many times as I try to figure out what was done when, I'm almost never right. But I like that quality of, it's like a kind of secret. But they're still very handmade. They're not a processed or they just feel very much yours.
Thank you.
Mary, I'm really interested in what you talk about with the mark, with the touch of paint, but the scale is so intriguing because it's just not a typical brush stroke. I mean, even in the small paintings, it's so out of scale. And then that really heightens some of the images from the photographic image that's underneath to kind of play this interesting role, like one, I guess I don't know if you titled that one, but the landscape images that come out, the vase on the table, the little landscape images on the right and the left, and this one too, the little hanger on that. I find that so interesting and that's so heightened by the scale. I don't know how much. Like, what do you use? What kind of brush do you use? What do you use?
I have some big ones. Yeah. And then when I use the big ones on the small print and then magnify it, they can be very large. But yeah.
That's one of the unexpected aspects of the work in that kind of relationship between image and mark and
And the variation of the tiny hanger and the variation of
that's
things
such
that are
a
possible.
beautiful little thing there.
Yeah. Thank you.
Well, I think that's a good place to stop. Thank you so much, Mary, for
Thank you.
talking to us today. We're not leaving at any particular time today, so feel free to stick around and